Hi everybody, Kat here. Welcome to my channel. It is New Year's Eve day, early morning, and as we've been reflecting on everything that's happened with the Royals in 2023, we have an opportunity to look forward to 2024 and what might be coming down the pike, the ramifications of all of that. Now, we do know right off the bat in January, early 2024, we've got a couple of big developments. The first one is going to be the release of over 100 names, various emails, and other documents relating to sexual crimes case against Jeffrey Epstein, put ahead by one of his associates. I think he's assistant or something like that. Somebody anyway, and she had testified as well, I think, at the Virginia Dufresne court case. So this is all connected, and a judge has ruled that all these documents and names and everything that were put forth by this woman during the course of the trial can be released to the public. And this is bad news for Andrew, because it's just, it's never going to go away. His involvement with Jeffrey Epstein, perhaps other pedophiles like Peter Nygaard, there's proof of an association there. How many friends do you have that are all involved in such hideous behavior? But, and Ghislaine Maxwell, they're all the same. But anyway, yeah, so these names, Andrew isn't going to be the only member of the elite class that are going to be nervous about these revelations. It's going to name a lot of people, but there you go. They'll all associate back to Andrew if he's had association with these people as well, and there's a damn good chance that Meghan's name is going to show up somewhere in these documents, because don't forget, in the Virginia Dufresne case, her lawyers were looking to possibly call Meghan as a witness and depose her regarding information about Andrew, because as I believe, and a lot of other people do, Meghan not only knew of, but had a particular relationship, we might say, with Andrew before she ever met Harry, because of her involvement in Soho House. Like I've said time and time again, people are just starting catching on. I've been talking about this for over a year. It all circles back. The common denominator for all of this stuff is Soho House, Marcus Anderson, Meghan's involvement with Marcus, her basically working as an independent contractor, providing entertainments sought by members of Soho House, and so she had association with a lot of these people. Don't forget, Jeffrey Epstein's business partner is one of Soho House's largest investors. It's all connected. It's all connected. So anyway, more of this is going to come out for Andrew in the new year. These documents, he's going to be named and shamed, and so might Meghan, and you never know who else might show up on that list. So that's not good, and that's not good for the royals. They've already started damage control ahead of this. They brought out Fergie as a secret weapon over Christmas. Now, we know that for the last 30 years, the Queen didn't completely shut her out. she was able to stay on Wood Farm on the Sandringham estate during Christmas, and the Queen would drop in and have tea with her. And, so she would be there with her girls to some degree, but she wasn't allowed to partake in the family festivities, shall we say, until now. And people have speculated, it's because she's been so good to Andrew and she's faithful and all of this. And the Queen, before she died, offered Fergie some special dispensation. But don't forget, the Queen, despite everything, had a soft spot for Fergie. But, this is nothing more than damage control. Try to make them look like a good little family unit. Bring Fergie in to come and cajole the crowds, and she's always said, what a wonderful man Andrew is, and all of the... But they're both the same, we know that. But anyway, as far as the king, the royal family, the way they're managing things, in my opinion, if you have to bring in Fergie to lend some credibility to a situation, you're in rougher waters than you ever thought. And I think this is eventually it's going to reflect badly on the king, and this is something I've said over and over and over again. This is just going to be another one of those things that hurts the king's credibility. Because it's going to come out, all of this. Well, he knew it all along. They've covered up for him all along. What does that tell you about the king? What does that tell you about how he feels about the allegations and how he feels about how his subjects are taking it all in? It comes back down to the royal family, and we're going to see in the case of all these other names that are going to be released, they're all going to be scrambling to protect themselves, as always happens. So I think the release of this information is going to be bad for Andrew. Fergie's presence isn't going to make a difference. It's going to be bad for the king. So that's not starting off the year in good footing. And now the other royal story that's going to brew, well, it's been brewing for years, but is starting to come to a head now, is documents being released regarding the Martin Bashir Panorama interview with Princess Diana back in 95, where we know now that Martin Bashir had hired a graphic artist from the BBC pool to counterfeit documents, bank statements, letters, things, to show Diane, to convince her that everybody was, spying on her. Her staff were spying on her and reporting back to Charles. She couldn't trust anyone. This kind of they played, and Martin Bashir brought in Diana's brother, the Earl Spencer, and showed him all these fraudulent documents in a hope to convince him to tell Diana she really had to talk to this guy, and it worked, The Earl Spencer figured out later what had happened, but, he was hoodwinked, and he went to Diana and said, Diana, this is, you got to talk to this guy. And I think Diana at the time, she viewed the interview, she viewed getting her voice, much as the same as the book that she did with, now I'm not going to be able to remember his name. Anyway, Diana her true story. It was much the same with the interview. I think her motivation was to get out what was happening to her and how she felt about things and how she felt she was being treated by not only the press public, but the royal family, the establishment, and kind of what she intended to do about it. The fact that, and I mean the royal family and others, this is an interview that should never be shown again because it was obtained under fraudulent circumstances. Well, yes. However, in the body of the interview, Diana does speak her truth. She does speak her mind, and she lets us know what was going on. So, even all these years later, I think it's an important piece of journalism, however fraudulently it was set up now. But here's the thing. So, there's an author who's been writing a book about this whole thing, and for years he's been trying to, he's given freedom of information requests to the BBC to get a look at correspondence and email and so on between Martin Bashir and all of it, to get to the background of how this was put together, what Martin Bashir actually did, because we've known about this for years, folks. We've known about this for years, that Martin Bashir did this, yet the BBC has never sanctioned him. The BBC has never, there's never been any charges laid for, fraudulent bank documents. And, the only person that's ever gotten any heat from this is the poor bloody graphic designer that was, a BBC sort of free agent contractor that Martin Bashir hired to mock up these documents. He thought he was just, he'd done it a million times before, create little documents for a show or whatever, props. That's what he thought was going on. The intent for these documents that he was creating was pretty nefarious. And he's the only one. It's taken him 25 years to redeem his credibility and his reputation. He's the only one that was ever hurt by this. None of the BBC executives, Martin Bashir, none of them have faced any heat. And the BBC, over all these decades, has continued to smother this information. They do not want any of it out. Now, after repeated attempts and the BBC saying, sorry, no, we're not going to comply with your freedom of information requests, well, a judge has ruled that the BBC must comply and release, I don't know, something like 3,000 emails and documents and all of this. And the BBC has countered. I mean, this is how, entitled they are. And they're not afraid. The BBC has countered and said, well, we're going to redact them so that, they've actively told us we're going to have them redacted so you don't get the information that you want. They're actively still going to try to hide the information. Now, with this judge saying, you got to release, it's going to be another back and forth, and we might get a little bit of information out. A lot of it, if the BBC, does it, they're going to be redacted. How much are we going to learn? So this is a fight that's not going to go away. It's going to continue back and forth. That author's like a dog with a bone. He's not going to give up. He's now got a judge on his side. Is this going to bring any justice to the situation by way of Martin Bashir facing what he's done, the BBC facing what they've done? Who knows? All we know is it's going to continue to be a headache for the royal family. And just looking at these two events that are upcoming, they both surround release of information that's going to be damaging to the royal family and the people around them, other elites. The same process is being used in both events. Damage control, trying to manage what gets out. Refusing to comply on the basis that they're the elites. They're above the law. They don't have to comply. And I mean, it's been that way all along. So nothing different here. And you know, when we're looking at how these things may play out, we can only come to the conclusion that we've had all along, that, you know, people may call us conspiracy theories, but that's how these things start when you're looking at these elites and the royals and these powerful entities and their ability to be able to squash information, to manage information, only let you know what they want you to know. And these are the people that are running the world, and this is why we've got to be very concerned and very critical about what they say and do. The more things change, the more they stay the same, folks. That's what we can look forward to early in 2024. Leave me a comment. I'd like to know what you're thinking about all of this. Like, subscribe, and if you'd like to, you can buy me a coffee. The link's in the description. Have a great day, everybody, and Happy New Year.